Trading the foreign exchange market carries high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Trading on margin, utilizing leverage can carry an even higher level of risk that can lead to a complete loss of investment funds. So before deciding to trade the foreign exchange market or using any of our software alert products, you should carefully and diligently consider your personal investment objectives, level of experience, and risk tolerance. There is a possibility that you could potentially sustain significant loss. You should not invest any capital or trade that you cannot afford to lose. It is your responsibility to be aware of and understand all risks associated with foreign exchange trading and to seek professional advice from an independent certified financial advisor if you have any doubts. Auvoria Prime does not exercise trading authority over your trades. You and you alone exercise discretionary trading authority over every trade.
Well, let's take a look at that right now. Right now, we're looking at the strength of the pound Swiss. Pound strong, Swiss is weak, Euro is weak, Canadian dollar is looking. Pound and Canadian dollar are strong. The bottom two, Euro and Swiss, are weak. That's what we're going to focus on. Let's check the news and see if there's any news today for Tuesday, Wednesday, June 30th, and looks like it's going to be a quiet day in the news world today. It looks like got a couple orange folders, nothing too major going on. A couple orange folders in the U.S. and Canadian dollar at 8.15 and 8.30. Other than that, it's pretty quiet on that front. And
then Christopher had a question about the Euro US that we can look at here in a bit. Okay, yeah, he's kind of trying to scale out a little longer.
They should see my charts.
I am not seeing your chart. Let me see. Yeah, I'm seeing your chart. There it is.
See the charts? Okay. Yeah. We have a question about the Euro US. Let's take a look at that one.
Yeah, he's trying to. His question is he's been in it trying to scale out before the NFP if he's needed, but.
Let's see. Let's take a look and see what we have here. Here's our main range that we're looking at. We're looking in a range of about 35 pip range. If we can move in averages up here. Which direction are you in, Christopher? Long or
That's
short?
a good. Yeah, I should have.
And what time frame are you trading on?
He's been trading. I asked him about time frame. He's in it for a longer period.
So okay, so he's more of a swing trader. That's
well,
your department there, Brian.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. So hold on, I'm pulling mine up over here too. Had to decide to get in the trade first.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to check and see. Here's the range we're going to be looking at with the Euro US. Here's our upper red zone. Here's our green zone. Here's the new zone in between. I would take the one that formed left the red zone, came into the green zone, and we use that for my Fibonacci.
Yeah, I'm not even going to look at the chat box. I'm assuming he's answering your question. I'm going to tell him without knowing what side of the trade he's on. So if you're looking at, don't tell me. That way I can have an unbiased opinion. Let me look at my chart here. Are you looking at your Euro US too? I'm pulling my daily up just to see what the overall push is. Here we go. Euro US, majority of the traders are short. So if I was going to be anything, I would most likely be long. Doing the normal thing that we do. You want me to share my screen with this, Al?
Yeah, go ahead. Well, I set my charts up. I'll stop sharing. You take it over.
Yeah, that way we can talk swing here.
Let me take a look at the chat while you're doing that.
Sure. Don't tell me anything if it has to do with that.
Okay.
Compare.
And it's helpful too, is if just to for a quick reference too, is that when you ask the questions, put it in the question and answer box. We're more likely to see it. Sometimes we don't catch the questions in the chat box. We'll try to, but the best place we'll usually look at the question and answer box first.
Yeah, question and answer is better. My guess is that Christopher's probably long. Otherwise, he wouldn't be thinking about getting out. I would not be getting in right now. And depending on your emotional pain, again, most of the traders of this particular pair are short when the overall trend, when you look long-term, has been up with a bias sideways. I should say sideways with bias up. These are not, again, this is not alerts. These are supply and demand zones. So you've got a lot of pink up there, but you have a lot of green down here. So you're kind of caught in the middle, probably answering your same question, probably knowing you're in the middle. So let's go ahead and do the same thing that we do with our scalping trading, get our playground. So if I was going to be, if I was not in this position, I would definitely be looking at this area right here as my area to go long. I'm going to go right about there. That would be my area to go long if I wasn't already long. And you're in that area. So patience would be a key. The question for me would be your target. Your target's not very far. I have a feeling we may be starting to want to turn. So if we're planning to hold on to something, let's always go back up to our week. And again, we're sideways. I mean, you can see just as many colors, red as or pink as you do green, but we're coming out of this weekly demand. We're touching it again, I should say. Again, I would sit still, if you're long, I'd sit still and let the picture change. The picture really hasn't changed a whole lot. Let's go down, and since I've drawn on that, let's drop it down to 6 and see what we can get closer. I don't ever get out of a trade until the picture changes. And if you're long, you're with the SSI, you do have some walls and some battles to face. And I don't know what price you got in. That would be another key. If you're priced up here at 2087, then you might want to expect to take a little bit of a loss, but I think you're going to have a bounce. You're into an area right here between 1855 and 1700. That's going to be a pretty good wall. Plus, you got your blue fib line at the 1784. So you got a pretty big little wall right here that you can plan on some sort of retracement back. We just don't know how big it's going to be.
Biggest question if it can take the heat till it bounces off that first green zone.
Yeah, and have an exit regardless, because what if it doesn't bounce? If you're okay with coming down to here, then I would put my stop right about this area here and let it ride itself out. If you're not okay with that, then you have to predetermine you've got some supply right here that even with a bounce, it's going to be a grind, and you can see it's been grinding. It's just not a great pair right now.
Christopher, if you have an international broker, what you could do is if you're worried about how much deeper it's going to go, you could just put a sell order in with the same amount and just stabilize your drawdown until you get that bounce and then release one of it. If you don't want to take the stop out, but that way you could protect you could stabilize what your drawdown is right now. If it goes lower, you could be into a short position. When you start getting to that green area, you could unleash that short, take the profit on that, and then take another position, but perhaps on the longer, wait for it to bounce back up again. That way it protects your drawdown is what it does, and protects your margin that you have. Good morning, Eva.
Yeah, you've got areas of demand, pretty strong demand, starting right where you're at down to the blue line on 1 hour, 4 hours, 6 hour, and daily. So the odds of you having a bounce are pretty high. The question is, how far would that bounce go? Because you have this initial area of supply to break through. After that, it's clear up to the 21s, 2090-ish. That's what I would say. Yeah, you're making decisions right now based on exactly what I'd be questioning it too. I wouldn't be jumping in right now, to say the least, because it's really messy.
So if you want to be buying now, you probably want to be stabilizing your sell order, your buy order to the short side, and just stay. If it's I think it's going to go lower. It looks like it's probably going to go lower.
Yeah.
The question is, how much lower can you accept? And a lot of times too is when you start getting to an area where you're looking for a bounce, you may just want to take another position if you have the funds in the account to do so. You may just want to take another position, and that way when it does bounce, you only have to go back half the distance to be able to get back to a break-even point. So
definitely a downturn on the lower time frame. Yeah.
So all right.
Hopefully that helped. Let me unshare and let you share.
Yeah, let's go back and see if we can
get back on our horse here.
On track here. Yeah.
You still show pound Swiss as your strongest pair?
Let me see here. Let me check that. Pound. So here's my correlator. Pound Swiss is still actually pound Swiss, cat Swiss. Right now, the Swiss is the weakest pair of the bunch. So we'll be trading against the Swiss, and let's go and see what else we have here. And actually, I did have this. Let me see what happened last night with my. I had a trade that I had on last night with the UK. Let's see where that. Let's see, that may have closed out last night. Check that. No, that one got stopped out too. I had a buy on that. That one got stopped out last night too. Pound Swiss is one of those animals that I haven't had much luck with either. The spreads are relatively wide on it, and it's the German 30 has been my best one of all the other indexes. And let's go look at CAD Swiss. That was one. CAD was strong. Let's take a look at that one in here. And we got Eva back in the room this morning here, so she's up and running.
It wouldn't let me in for some reason.
Well, it's because your host here was overslept a little bit this morning.
Ah, that explains it.
Yeah,
maybe Brian did something too.
Well, we were blocking that. We were doing some border control from Canada.
Brian kept me up late last night. We'll just blame Brian. Okay, so here's with the CAD Swiss. We are looking with the Swiss being weak, the CAD being strong. The CAD's the first currency of the pair. We're looking for it alongside. We're also looking to see where it's coming up into this red zone. So there isn't a lot of room to be taken along. I would have to be looking at, we're actually right now in the upper 25% of this fib zone that we'd be looking at here. I'm on a 15-minute chart. I'm going to just draw it pretty much from this pivot high, which is the last pivot before it broke out of the red zone. Bring it down to the green zone. Mark my upper 20, and we're in the money zone right now. So right now you can see where it's retesting yesterday's high. This is yesterday's high. This is the closing low. It's pretty much at the end of the day. It's right at the money break, and it's been going up higher. It's going back to retest this. We do have a little bit of a higher high from Tuesday, right from Monday's high, Tuesday's high. Now we're coming into Wednesday. We do have a little bit of a trend off of this little area right in here, this little pivot high to this one. So these are the two daily highs. And right now it's right at the trend line coming in for the third hit of the trend line. Here's the anchor, here's the hit, here's the third hit. This is reference to what's been happening for the last couple of days. It is making lower highs. We're coming up, we're up into the upper 25% zone. I'll mark that. And the fact that it's been high overnight, I'd be starting to look for a possible reversal pattern here. So I would not be taking it long right now, not while we're up in this zone. That's pretty close. To the lower 25. And it's going to be this area right down in here. We'll mark our targets. And you can see that from this point up here, it came down. It dropped, it based, it dropped again, it came back up and went right back up. This is our middle zone. This is where those three lines are going to be. So you see where the price is retracing back into, it goes to the extreme and reverts back into the middle again. So I'm going to be looking at, these are the targets we're going to be looking at. Once we get that reversal pattern up here, we'll be looking at coming into this, be the target 1, target 2, and we have another third target before it comes back down into the lower zone. Now, keep in mind, something's very important today is the last day of the month. It's the day before, Thursday is still going to be a normal work day. Friday's going to be a day. Fridays are usually kind of slow anyway, but we're also going into a major U.S. holiday of the 4th of July. Monday, there's banking holiday. Banks will be closed on Monday. So right now, we're going to be looking at a lot of profit taking probably today for the institutions to be taking, closing out books with profits, closing out for the end of the month. We're already near the end of the week, going into holiday season. So I expect a little bit of volatility today. As you can see with this bounce over here, it came back down into the lower zone. This was from yesterday. Came into the zone, pulled back out of the zone, came up, tested the middle, came back in. Here's our lower wedge. This is the wedge we look at when we start seeing this thing pulling back out. Here's our low. Here's our higher low right here. And so this is the wave one, wave two. If you're talking about like Elliott wave, here's wave three coming up straight on up. And right now it's coming all the way up to the top. Now this thing could go up higher. Boy, I tell you, it's the fact this is just such a strong shoot up. I would expect a little bit of a bounce, maybe not a big bounce, and it may even come up and start testing out these two areas. If it breaks this high over here, we're going to have to take a look and see where's the next pivot high. It's going to be right over here. And you can see that from this high to this one, to this one, to this one, you probably have a nice little trend line. They're probably going to hold the trend line. And I start looking to see where these highs are and see if they start aligning with each other. So here's an anchor. And this is on a daily chart. When you start looking at daily highs and lows, we see where this was, let's see, today's Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. This was Friday's high. This was the next high for the week, which was yesterday. It came in, it did, if I bring it down to, I have one little breach of the wicks right in here. So that was a little bit of a little head fake up in there. Here's a hit. And now we're looking for another hit right up here, which is right at this red zone. This zone is going to be very critical. We're looking for this thing to come on up, tag it, and then look for the reversal. I'm going to see it come back out of the trend, out of the zone. So we're going to be looking at a bounce. Get just a ray on this one. We're looking for a bounce. Look at pull back out of the zone. It's going to retest the trend line, come back up and retest, probably retest the trend line again, maybe form another little wedge right in here. And then we're going to be looking for the break to the downside. Now we don't know where this will be target one. So this is the pattern we're looking for this thing to do. I'm on this is on a 30-minute chart. I'm going to bring it to a 15-minute. And you're going to see where it's starting to form a little bit of a pivot right in there. If I come down to the 5-minute, I bring this up, and we say we don't know how high this high is going to be, but we do know we have to pay attention to it. And I want to start seeing this thing to start reversing. So we have the trend line. That's this orange line up here. We're getting the high. It could go up higher. It could go up to this one. We don't know where it's going to stop. We do know it's coming up into this upper 25% zone. And then it's going to be looking for that reversal pattern. So right now, there's nothing to take a trade on right now. From this area where that red zone is to here, that's only 5 pips. It's not enough for him to take a trade. Remember, we like to have at least 14, 15 pips to a target, going for 7 pips. So we're looking at 21 pip ranges, and we're just trying to grab the 7 pips out of that 21 pip range. It is starting to come. It came up. You can see where it just tagged that zone, and now it's pulling back again. We're still in the uptrend, and it came up, tagged it. It's coming back in. We have a little green zone, and we should be looking to see where our moving averages are. I'm just going to put those on right now. We've got to put those on at first. I'd like to see where they are. Here's our moving average. Here's our green. Here's the yellow. We do have a yellow crossing or green crossing the yellow now. It is a pullback. It is crossing below our arrow moving average, but we still have a 62 EMA coming up on here, right at the green zone. This zone right now, from here to here, again, it's only 4 pips. I'd like to see this thing get down a little bit deeper before it comes back up and retest that trend line, that upper zone. So there's really no trade here right now. Let me get this up. Let me get my fibs drawn again since I lost them when I redrew the chart.
You have a nice picture on the US Swiss. It's kind of the same look, but the position of it's a little bit different.
Okay, let's go and take a look at that. Since this one's still forming, we're not ready to take a trade on this. Let's take a
It's
look
going to
at
be
that
similar.
one.
I mean, obviously, I'm seeing a different kind of tool than you use, but
US Swiss.
I wouldn't immediately do a market order, but it seems like it's poised to.
US Swiss, we have a red zone on that. So let's go to the 50-minute chart.
And I'm actually seeing it going long.
Whoops.
Pull back right now, to be honest.
Here's our template. Here's our load. Here's our moving averages up in here. I keep forgetting to do that here. So we're on a 15-minute chart. It's coming right up here. It actually broke this little pivot high.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to a little bit higher time range. So right now I'm looking to see where did this red zone start? Where can we find the beginning of that thing? So I'm going to keep going
Are
to
you
a
on your
higher
15?
chart.
You're in your 15.
Well, I'm on an hourly right now, but see, it's still broken. It's breaking. Yes, we have a wick from yesterday's high. We had a wick on Monday, Tuesday. So right now we have little higher highs coming up into this red zone.
Look at your June 21st is when that pivot was formed.
June 21st is going to be, that's going to be back still further.
Mm-hmm.
So, but where did this red zone start?
Oh,
Way
for
over
your,
here to the left.
that's your arrow red.
Yeah, the arrow red. And so, but this seems to be, right now I'm on a 4-hour chart and this zone is still here. So that means this is a higher time frame supply zone.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to go ahead and mark this where the top of this zone is. Get an idea for that shape. That way, when I go to my other charts, I still know where my zone is. Because it's going to be probably a little bit thicker on the daily, on the higher time frames, going to be a little bit thicker.
It's definitely a big giant wall.
And right now we have our low. Here's where it came out. Here's where all this consolidation was. This is the beginning of this big up move. The up move's not done because it's still making new highs. I'm going to use this for the reference, this for the beginning. So we can at least find out where our middle zones are going to be. And so you can see right now it's up in this. So I don't want to be taking it up in this 4-hour time zone. Looking at the distance here, that's 14 pips to the very top. It'd have 14 pips to go to break through, but that's like a 14-foot wall that you're trying to break through that. And right now we're right at the top. It's still respecting these pivots. So we're in the very top. If it breaks through, we have to figure out if it can break through this wall, then we're going to be looking at a breakout. And that breakout is going to be probably all the way back here. We have to go all the way to a daily chart to see where this down move was. So right now, if I were to be looking at this pivot low, this is the daily range. This is all the way back to beginning of May. So if this thing breaks out of this area right here, you can see where we had the down arrow. If it can break out of this area where these candles went from green, but turned to red, now they're coming back up green. But right now, this little area right in here is where the problem, where it's got to break through. But once it breaks through that, the next shot is all the way up here. So this thing does break out of here, it's going to go up a lot higher. U.S. Swiss, the Swiss was the weakest currency. The dollar was stronger. Let's see where it was. It could very well break through that, but it's got a little ways to go.
Some work,
but it's got some work to do before it's going to break through that. And so I would be very careful. We have that. You can see where the little zone is right here. If I take it all the way back, and that's going to be right over to this area. So if I take this all the way over, we have this. I'm going to slide this thing all the way over here. And then we have this other little wick right in the top here. So it's got to get through this little area right in here before I'm looking for this thing to break up and start retesting this high. So this is going to be your wall. So at least we have some references. If this thing does go up higher, we have a reference to how high it's going to go. And we're just going to have to play this one by ear and just see how it materializes. I'm going to go back to my 15-minute chart, see where, here's the top of our zone. So I'm going to draw that. Here's our upper 25% right in the wall. This is on our, so we are pretty deep into this thing. But so this is going to be the area that we're going to be looking at. Here's the, oh boy, that's a pretty big space right in there. Let's see what the measurement is on this. We may have to redraw this line. It may not be as big. That's 41 pips between. Yeah, we can go a little smaller than that. Let's go back to our 15-minute chart and see what we have. See where the last pivot low was. Let's see what this was the overnight. This is today's range. So from the overnight low to the high right now. That's 31 pips. We could probably take a little bit lower. Oh boy. I don't like the picture of this one too much at all. This one, we've got, actually, this is more of a channel here. Here's our low. Here's our, it's been testing this trend line right here. And then we have this as a breakout. So this is the wedge that we're looking at right in here. It did break out of the top, so it is making a little bit newer highs, but this is really going to be the playground that we're looking at for today. I think this area right in here, that's a 21 pip range. We did come up, made a pivot high. It is breaking through. We're starting to get the crossover. I'd like to see a pullback. When it pulls back, I think it's still going to go higher. So from this one to here, let's go ahead and
I've got an entry sitting at 92.20. That's where I'm waiting for it to pull back.
On this one, pull back to 92.20, 92.20. That's going to be right about to the our blue moving average. I do like this little move up here where it was going sideways. Here's the push up. Here's the first push. Here's retracement. Push up, retracement. It looks like it's respecting. It wicked to the yellow line, but it has to respect the blue moving average. So this is where we're like, this thing's still in an upward trend. So we're trying to find out we don't know where it's going to stop, but we do know it's trending and we know it's pulling back. So here's the, let me get some of this off of the chart here. This is where you have to sort of like, you have to see what the chart's telling you and then go with what and go with that. Yeah, there we go. We got that. So here's the origin. Here's where it's starting. This is starting to do the trending in the sideways motion. We're looking for the pullback. Here's our 23% line. And since we don't really know where all this thing's going to go, I'm just going to pull this back here. I'm just going to use this so we don't have so many lines on here. Here's my 23%, way back in this area right here where it's pulling back in the 23%. We still have the dollar strong to the Swiss. From this pullback to where the trend line is, there's our 10 pips. We could get a little bit of an overshoot, but just be aware this is a strong zone right here, and this would be. This is tradable. It's tradable because there's still enough room to grab that scalp. Plus, we have the momentum with the. Let's see where the dollar is for the Swiss still. Swiss is gaining a little bit of strength here, a little bit off the bottom now. The dollar is in the middle. We have a 5 and a 1. We have a 4 and a 1. So we still have the 3-point spread, but we're up in the zone. It's tradable, but I would do it with caution. I wouldn't have high expectations unless it actually broke out the top of that. That's one I'm going to pass on. If I were to catch this, I want to catch it on the pullback all the way back into this bright black area here, which is that 23 to 50% zone. And that would be more of a target shoot. It pulls back into the zone. You take your shot at it and look for it, try and catch your 7 pips to the upside. Right now, if you took it here, you only have about 6 pips before this. And they see you've got this big, heavy red zone you've got to be paying attention to. It is making, it did break this pivot high from yesterday, which means it is making some, but it doesn't, we do have a close here on the 15. We do have a 15-minute close. You can see where the bars of this candle close higher than this pivot. So it does have room to the upside.
I took a small piece too. Took a small piece of it and then a larger piece after.
Yeah, it is tradable, but I would be looking at my target being this trend line up here, which would be right here, right around the 92.39 area. So I'll keep this on the chart. We'll take a look at it. I'm just going to mark this on the pullback arrow up. I'm just going to mark it, put an arrow right on here. And we'll just see where this thing takes us if we had gotten in right at this area. This would be the area where we've been looking to go long with it. Again, we're going long at the very top of a move, but knowing that if it does break this zone, it's got significantly higher to go. You can go all the way up to the, I don't know if I saw that orange arrow. I don't think I do. I think it's a different chart here now. But anyway, if it does break, it could, I would expect to bounce off of this area right here, which is right around the 92.38, 39 area. So keep that one in mind. You can watch that one. US CAD sell. We're looking at the US, the CAD being strong today. US CAD, let's sell. Again, this one's coming right down into the zone as well. Come to a 15-minute chart. See where our zones are. Here's the move up for, this is today's range. Overnight range was kind of flat. Hit our money zone. So right here was the high of the overnight high. Hit the money zone. Here's the other overnight low. This one gave us, we're getting a little bit of a whipsaw from last night. This is the overnight range. It broke, hit the money zone, broke. You could have gotten a few pips out of this one. I think, no, you probably would have gotten, you'd probably be looking at getting stopped out if you went short on this and then reverse back. And you also see now where our arrow moving averages is right here. It was going flat, head fake, came back up, retest. Here's our big move up. Now it's retesting this area right now. And if you look and see how this chart, how the price action of this is a strong move from here to here. That's a strong move. All this other move along here is a lot more gradual. You can see the difference in the angle of this move versus the angle of this move. You see the big difference. And this is the type of move we're looking up to see when it leaves the zone, come back to retest, and then you can start following these trends along the way up here. So right now I'm going to go ahead and redraw this thing, get my moving averages on here. I don't know if this one's going to be tradable or not. We may be able to find a spot later on with this one. It had consolidation of it. All the consolidation came back up. This is a strong move down, coming back down to retest this green zone. I do like the, as a zone, I like the range from here to here. See what the range is at. There's our 65 pips. I'm going to draw the fibs from this green up to this point, looking for the pullback and see if we can get the bounce off of this. We did say that the CAD was the stronger one, which is right now is coming down, but it's coming up down, tagging this area right in here. So this is the move. This was, let's see if I can find yesterday's low on this for a higher time frame. Yeah, here's yesterday's price range. It broke yesterday's high, still maintained yesterday's low. So it is trending on up. Here is the low that made yesterday. So we can take it from this low, this green zone here, take it on up. We don't know where the top of this thing's going to be. It is in an uptrend. Here's a pullback. It pulled back from this up from yesterday's low to right is pulled back is into that 38 to 50% zone. So we're looking to see if we can get a little turnaround and see if the CAD starts to weaken a little, see if the dollar gets stronger as the morning progresses. But I'd still be looking at taking this thing long with the strength of the, well, with the strength of the CAD is going short, but I'm not thinking it's going to go too much. It could come down here to the 61 to 50 area. We don't want to be taking it long until the dollar starts getting stronger to the CAD. But this is going to be the zone. This is the area. And this is where we have to be patient. This is where we have to see what the charts are telling you. I like using the previous day's high and low for a reference if I can, because we're only looking at trying to get those 6 or 7 pips out of the move for the day. We're not swing. This is not the, if you're swing trading, then you can be, your parameters are a little bit different. Your stops are going to be different, but we're just trying to grab these little moves throughout the day. These are 38%. There's that one. And here's a 61. These are our target zones. It's coming out of our upper 25% of the overnight move. It's coming out, tagging this one. Now I'm going to be looking to remove these fib lines that we have here. And now I'm looking to see, with the strength of the CAD strength, we're looking at pullbacks off this down move. I'm going to come to my 5-minute chart. It came out of the zone. Here's our move coming out of the zone. Now we're looking for it to see if it's going to come back up to retest and then come back down short. It hit the first target, actually hit the first target. Here's the first move out of the zone. Trend. This is where it starts trending. Strong move down, pull back. Strong move down, pull back. Strong move down. Now I'm going to look and see if it's going to be retesting some of these areas. I'm looking for maybe a pullback into this area right in here. This was the last significant area that it was in before it left the zone. We'll see if what happens when it comes back up. You should get a little bit of a pullback retracement. And here's, I like this where it left the zone, the 20% zone. I like this move down here. And I'm going to move my target to the 23 to 50 area and see how far it pulls back. We have the moving averages. So I like having the moving averages in this area. Let's see if it can pull back and then maybe come back down and retest. Again, the CAD is still strong. So this could be starting to hit these targets. It already hit target 1, closed below on a 5-minute chart. It closed below on a 5-minute chart below this one. Now it's pulling back into our 23 to 50% zone. And we can be looking at a pullback to come back down to retest this target. This would be the next target. Move down to that one. That would be the next target. Looking at this, the zone is, that's 11 pips. It's a nice little range in between these orange lines. I like seeing 10 to 15 is usually my ideal time because I'm looking for a 7-pip move. The further this thing pulls back, we can maybe try and take a little. And as this thing pulls back and gives us, it's in the zone right now. Pull back. We're looking in this little area coming in. We have a nice little red zone right up here. See if it pulls back up. If it doesn't, and then we can maybe just take it short. We have a little pivot high. Has the downward starting to cross back over. The green did cross the yellow coming up. Looking for the green to come back down. If we get a little push back down, now we can try and do a stealth stop, maybe right in this area. And as it comes in, as this way, if it keeps on going higher, we can start moving our entry in up a little bit. But we now know that if we get infilled here, we have room to the downside. There's our 8 pips to this to our next target zone. And we'll see how. I like this little pivot high. I don't like the fact that the green's crossing the yellow on this 1-minute chart. But by the time it comes back down, if it gets us into the trade on a nice strong push down, remember we had this nice push here. We have this length right here, and we take this and move it over. Here's our pivot high, and we can be looking at our target being right in this area right here. This little stick is right now 9 pips. The further up it goes, the more likely you are to be able to hit our target. And so this is how we're playing this one right now. We're looking at, now it did break over the moving average on this, but this is on the 1 minute, and the 5-minute moving average is still up here. So we're still good with the 5-minute moving average. And we're just looking to see how this thing pulls back. How deep is it going to pull back? And we're going to adjust this as this thing goes up higher. Right now it's retesting it's coming up to test this 38% retracement. Here's the 23, 38.50. This is the middle zone from where we drew the Fibonacci from the downside. And our stop, if we get in here, our stop with a 15-pip stop, our stop's going to be way up here, right up there, right around the second zone area. So as it comes up, it's about ready to get us into the trade. We're in the trade. Put our targets in. Modify it. 15-pip stop, 57-pip target. Get that set. And we'll see where we're at. We are in this trade. It came in, it got the momentum, came back through, never looked back, and right now it's still coming down looking to retest. We had the strength of the CAD. The CAD was the strongest, one of the strongest currencies. We want to trade to that strength, and we want to get in on the pullbacks of that strength. And right now my target on this trade is 2311, 23. Oh, let's see. Got in at 2383. Let me see, this doesn't look right. Let's see where my target is here. That's what it is. That should be 70, not 700. That's better. And you see my target, you see that 7 pips is right here at the orange line. Let's see if it can come down. There we have a bounce arrow. It didn't really quite a bounce, but it's pretty close. Here's our downward arrow. And where's the next green zone? If we have one on here on the 15. Let's see if there's a green. We're in a green zone here on the 5-minute chart, but coming right down here to our target. We're just about to our target area. Go back to my 1-minute chart and see how it bounces. Remember, it's got the red line, the red line and the white line, that's our spread. And right now the spread on this is probably about, let's see if I can measure that real quick. It's just about 1 pip spread, which is a nice little spread. It's plenty small. But then remember, the red line's got to come through and tag my target. If the white one comes down and starts bouncing, I'm just going to pull the trade and take my profit as I go in. See if I get one little push coming down. And we're right pretty close to the target and should take it here right now pretty quick. Boom. There's a little bit more. Remember, the red line's got across, and there's my target. Boom, done. Move on to the next trade. Now, what we can do is we can be looking and see how much further this thing's going to be trending on down. Here's the next target. I expect to see this thing on I want to see a 5-minute close below this next line. Now this thing could just wait. We have our green zone right here. It could just hit this target. I mean, if you want to stay in this trade, I would expect a little bit of a pullback first. But as you measure this little stick here from the last high to where it pulled, the next retracement was, you take it from where the next high was, we are right now at that target area right in here, which is the green zone. You may be looking at taking some profits in this area or expect a pullback. And we have a trend line going from up here. This is the trend line that's following. And it's hitting a new zone. If it bounces up, probably retest the trend line. If it reverses from the trend line, that is probably going to be reversed possibly by the time the U.S. market opens up. You may see it starting to reverse, and you may start seeing the dollar starting to get stronger. Right now, the dollar is weak compared to this. Here's our target 1. The first move down, came back, retraced, hit target 2. This is our target zone. We had 11 pips or more, or 7. Oh, we got almost 12 pips on that. I like seeing 10 or more. Now we're getting it penetrated the second orange, and we do have a 5-minute close below. So we can actually move some things around here a little bit. Move this pivot down. Here's a new pivot low. Here's the origin of, I'll keep on that one. Looking for the 23% retracement. 23 to the 50. Here's our trend line. Trend line's inside. Our moving average is above. If we get a pullback, we can maybe take another shot at it to this target, and it could go all the way down to our lower 25% zone. If it can break through that, it could come back down and retest it. So in this case, it could be going from the upper 25 to the lower 25 with a couple little stops in between. We're seeing a little bit of a pullback. On the pullback, we'll check our strength meter and see how the Canadian dollar is doing. The Canadian dollar is still strong on all 4 time frames. And the US dollar is starting to gain some strength. It's right now the Canadian dollar and the US dollar is in the upper 3, upper 2. I'd be looking for this thing to start reversing a little bit. We may start seeing this US dollar start flipping over here on this 5-minute. Coming up here and retesting to challenge the Canadian dollar. So right now we're on a pullback. We're also looking to see where the dollar is starting to gain a little bit more strength. This is where I would be calling this is the end of the move. Right now they're all neck and neck. And I say there's not a lot of difference. Here's a 7 and 6, not much of a spread on that. I say this move could be pretty much over and this thing could start looking to reverse a little bit. Move on to the next trade. We'll keep that in inventory to keep an eye on it and see what else we have. Where's the dollar? Now it's the dollar and the Canadian dollar and US dollar are strong. British pound starting to lose a little bit of strength. The yen, I still like the Swiss, Aussie, where's the Aussie? Aussie's in 3. New Zealand, Aussie against the Canadian dollar and US dollar could be a possibility. Come back over. Still looking at the CAD pairs. CAD Swiss, CAD's still strong, Swiss is still weak. And we talked about this one earlier. And we are coming up into the upper 25 of our range that we drew. Any questions about anything we've done so far this morning? Here's the upper 25. Remember, basically what we're doing is look and see where's the range that the price is going sideways on the higher time frame. Find those upper 25 and lower 25% zones, which is what we're doing right here. Make sure you have enough room in between these lines, these fib lines. Okay, so I like seeing 10 pips. That one's 5. This one's a little bit tight, a little bit small. You may just have to be looking at this as a zone itself. There's 11 pips between the 61 and the 38. So you may just be looking at this, just combine these together. And this is the middle third, comes back up, tests, and see if we get a little turnaround. Here's a pivot high from yesterday's high. It's retesting yesterday's pivot high. Had a little bit higher pivot the day before. So here's a high, lower high. Testing this high right now into this area. And then we're going to see if we start getting we have our zones marked. Here's the 61. Here's the 50. If you ever look at a daily chart and look and see where the pullbacks are on a daily chart, you're going to notice that a lot of times from a daily range, it's going to make a high, a low, and it's going to pull back to the 50, 60. It's going to pull back into this area. So this is a daily chart, which is, you could be looking at this as one daily candle. And the daily candles range from, right now the range on this candle is 41 pips. If it makes a high, you'll oftentimes just see if a daily close, it'll close back in the up. If it's on an uptrend, it'll close up around here. If it's in a downtrend, it's starting to close a little bit weaker, and then they start going lower. This is our daily range right now. And I think, let's see where we at. That dashboard on the arrow dashboard shows us what the daily range is. Swiss CAD Swiss. Let's see what the daily range on this is. Average daily range on the CAD Swiss CAD. Where's my chart?
Just wanted to remind you guys that today the Canadian markets close at 1 o'clock and they're closed tomorrow as well. So if you're in any Canadian pairs, just remember that.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, that's right. This is tomorrow's a holiday for the Canadian. So, and actually you can see like right now for our average daily range, which is only a 10-period daily range, and that's what we set this thing for on the CAD Swiss. The daily range is 43 pips. We're already at 41. So this thing's pretty much already done its daily range so far. So you want to keep that in mind. If you're looking at the Aussie USD, The average range is 67 we've done 31. Let's take a look at the Aussie Swiss and just the Aussie US and see what that looks like. And we're going to put our moving averages on. Load it. And go to higher time frame. And you can see this thing's kind of stuck in this range. Now, what is this range between this red and this pivot? That's 36 pips. Not bad. That's not great. It's a little bit tight. We do have some downward momentum. But we have these green zones here. We just have a new red zone forming here. It is in a downtrend. If I scroll down, you can see a lot more red, a little bit of green. So it is in a downtrend looking for pullbacks. But we have this, we're going to be looking at a bounce off of this green zone. So I'll come to my 5-minute chart and see what, 15-minute, let's go to the 5-minute here, see what we got. Scroll it out a little bit so we can see the range a little bit. You see we have a little, here's a, let's go to our daily. Yesterday's low was right here. It did break yesterday's low. Had a fairly good high yesterday on the, here's looks like the daily high. If we see where that is. Yesterday, so here's a high, lower high, lower high. You can see where it's trending on down. So let's at least mark these trends right here. See where the hits are. Use this one from yesterday, that high. Here's our pivot high for the day before. It's respecting that trend line. And it's making some new lows. As I scroll back out, and I'm going to be looking at, I'm going to use this pivot. Just right now we're looking at it's making lower highs. So we don't know where the bottom of this is going to be, but we do know where the last hit was. So I'm going to take it from the last hit on down, see how low it goes before it pulls back. So I'm going to use this little pivot range right here. This was the daily high, bring it down to where we're making new lows for the day and waiting for the retracement. And we're also going to see what the strength is. The dollar was strong to the Aussie, so we're going to be trading to the short side. Again, we don't know where the bottom is, but we do know we're in some green zones looking for some pullbacks. Go to my lower time frame, expand the chart out. And right now we are in a downtrend and looking for where this thing's going to settle in for a pullback. And we use the upper 25 on this one. Here's my upper zone for the day, upper daily zone. Here's my lower daily zone. Take it over here. Again, we don't know where it's going to end up, but right now we can see it's going lower. It's breaking through this green zone. So everything's changing. I said I'm waiting for, we actually had a little bit of a pullback right here. This was the pullback right in this area. Now we're going to see where this thing settles in, and we see the green zone just went away. Here's our low right now. See if it goes lower. Here's the 25%. I want to see it pull back enough to be able to give us a room to get in. Have a new zone coming on up. Right now we're just resetting our zones as this thing going. Right now it's sort of like trying to catch a falling knife, but we want to wait for this thing to bounce a little bit before we try and get in for the next target area.
Al, at some point we probably want to talk about pip value again, because I kind of got away from it, and I took 2 trades this morning already with the U.S. Swiss long and the Aussie CAD short. Man, I got 7 pips, but it was only on the Aussie CAD, only $4.
Yes.
Yeah, so we might want to revisit that maybe next week when the holidays kind of.
Actually, that's a good one to do on Friday.
Yeah. Yeah. Are
It
we
won't be here. I plan on being here Friday.
okay?
So we can go. Those are lots of things we like to do. Yeah, and that brings a good point. Some of these other things tools that we use, like the pip calculator, why we how to gauge the lot size, which is a really important thing to do. That way, if you get yourself into a trade and it's going the wrong direction, you've got your stop areas listed and planned a little bit on how to handle the trade. How much drawdown can you take?
I
Like I
didn't
said,
properly position size, and it ended up costing me, even though I was right on the trade.
yeah. The thing about let's see, what was I going to say?
Sorry about that.
I know it's
It just frustrated me that we had a nice trade, and I didn't do my position size, and I ended up cutting myself half.
Yeah. What I was trying to say is that if you're a swing trader, you're going to be using larger stops. If you're a day trader or scalper, you can use larger lot sizes, and you can get, if you have a 40 pip stop, you need based on your account size, you need a certain, in order to maintain a 2% or 3% or whatever percentage of risk you're willing to take. Your lot size will vary. If you have that's what they say, a 40 pip stop. If you take a 10 pip stop, you can have 4 times the lot size and still gets the same amount of you can get the same amount of profit with a 25% less of the move on the trade. So you can get in and out with a 7 pip stop. With a 7 pip target, you can get in and out. If you could take 4 times the lot size, that'd be the same as having a 28 pip move to get the same move. And that's one reason why I do what I do, is because I like just grabbing in, getting out with a larger lot size, and kind of make that daily bread that we often talk about.
Al,
Yeah, so, well, yes, Eva.
I do have a question for you.
Okay.
Is Al going to look at the German today?
Al can look at the German today. Yeah, right now we're trying to figure out how to get into this. Let's take a look at the German 30. That is one of my favorite ones.
I guess it's the favorite of many.
Yeah, it is. So it's a good one. It is a good one. Let's take a look at this one. See the German 30. I may already have this one drawn. Let me see. Here's a German 30 right there. Take a look at this. This is okay. So this one, all right, we're going to redraw this whole thing here. Looks like it's pulled back for a little bit of a bounce off of this. Here's our range. Overnight range. Let's see what the range is on this. This is looks like a $257 move on that. That's pretty significant. That's a 15-minute chart. We'll draw that. I'm still not quite sure what ranges. This thing has pretty strong moves. When you get to these indexes, it's moving in terms of dollars. We like looking at $10 targets, $5 targets, $10 moves. And right there, that's a $30 move in between these zones. But we do see that it is strong move down, pull back. Right now it's into that. Here's a 23, here's our 38, 50. Came up to the 50, it's starting to cross back down again. Let's take a look at it on 5 minutes, see what we have here. Came up, basing crossing consolidation of the moving averages. It looks like this thing wants to break back down again.
Mm-hmm.
Here's our 38% zone. That's our target. Here's our 50. Let's see if I can bring this down a little bit closer. Here's this would be the 61% retracement of this down move, came back up into the zone, and here's our lower 25% right in this area. There's our lower 25. Let me get the upper 25, and then we'll redraw the fib lines. See what direction we're going into this thing. Here's the upper 25. And we're going to remove the fibs. and see where we have for our directional, for our entries.
Oh.
Go to the 5-minute chart. With this, you can see where the 5-minute chart did not break above this middle zone. It broke up at this one. It came up, tagged it, tagged it, tagged it, tagged it, and now it's coming back down. Our moving averages are starting to turn around. We're now below the blue moving average. We do have some consolidation right here. So right now I'm looking at a retrace from this move, this long move down. This is a retrace. This was the last significant move down. Retracing up into the 61%. And we're looking at the moving average is crossing over. Let's go to our 1-minute chart. And a strong move down, and it's starting to reverse. I'm going to go ahead and take this thing short. I'm in the straight short. Let me move these moving averages now. Objects. Delete. Now I'm looking at this little move down. This is a strong move down. We had very little bit of a basing on here. Right now, this thing's still moving. I like the way this thing's coming down into here. We'll see where it ends up. Once it ends up coming down, we may be out of this trade by the time my target is going to be. We have all the moving averages in the right direction. We have the crossover. And let's see, modify. Let's see, we got in at 53, so I'm looking at least 48 on this one. Let's go 48 for the target.
How weird.
Let's see, we got 15.5, 53, 63. That'll be a $10 stop. And we'll just adjust it here as we come on here. Bring this thing down a little bit lower, just see where it may come. I'm going to look at an overshoot down here. I'm going to look at this area down in here. Let this thing work. Let this thing ride a little bit.
Yeah.
Right now, it should be respecting this yellow moving average. It's respecting the green one. This could be a nice little push down here. Coming into our, let's see, if I move this. I kind of like it right about in there. And we'll see if it can come down and get my target. Right now I can keep my stop above this 38% pullback. If it pulls back above this orange line, I'll be looking to either take a second position to go short, or I'll be looking for a reversal. But right now, I want my stop to be somewhere right around this, in this area right now. We don't know where this knife is going to stop, but right now you can see it's really respecting this green moving average. We had all the consolidation up here, and actually ultimately right down here is our green zone for our target. So we can maybe grab this a little more.
Hey, Al,
Yes.
on this particular pair, or it's not a pair, but whatever this is, I'm not used to trading this. Obviously, I went back. I don't have my fib tool that I use doesn't work on this particular one because of the price. So I went back to old school plotting of lines and looking back to the left. It's pretty ironic how organized this thing is. Do y'all already recognize that too?
It does follow. I mean, it still follows the same. So large moves up, retracing, basing, the rally base rallies to retest.
I'm finding
push this one a little bit too much here on that one.
I'm finding 35 pip. Just you call it 35 pretty much.
Yeah, 35, 34 is that, which is a fib number.
Well, it's really strange. I'm obviously I've adjusted some of it, but if you look at my chart, I have orange lines like you did. Every 35, it seems to be where price seems to react. And the current candle bounced off of the 15,570, which is one of the orange lines. And I just got my $8 or whatever it is. 8 pip, I guess it would be.
Yeah, with the indexes, I haven't really quite figured out some of the specifics, I guess you could say, of the different index pairs. I just know that when I do the trend line, it does seem to fall with the Fibonacci's pretty well, and they do respect these Fibonacci movements.
Well, I just made $6 on it, so I was pretty happy. Actually, almost $7.
I said actually I may have gone for a little bit too much on this one here.
I thought you went for $5, Al. I'm already out of mine, and I got in after you.
You're right out of it. Well,
Me too.
I was following this moving average. I'm still following this one. I'm still going to hang into this thing. I'm going to see if it comes back and retest this orange, because right now we finally found our pivot, and we're looking. Here's our 23 zone.
We're always pushing the envelope, my friend.
Yeah, sometimes
$5 target, $5 move, you can never lose.
Well, you dropped into a 15-minute demand zone is what you did. Now you reacted to a 15-minute demand zone.
Let's see, where's 15-minute demand? There's one right there. Oh, here's a little bit of a trend line. Here's the push up, retrace, push up, retrace.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 candles back basically on the 15.
And we'll see here. It's
interesting.
Still not
interesting. Now, Eva, you say you go for 5 on this all the time?
I always go for a $5 move target. And I just, I regulate by my position size. I mean, I just got $30 in as many seconds.
Interesting.
I mean, you don't go, Al gets, I don't know what Al does, but
nobody knows what Al does.
To be honest with you.
I follow these orange lines is what I follow. It is breaking out of the bottom. Now right now it's retesting. I'd like to see if I'm trying to go for a little bit more on this one. I just sort of jumped. I didn't really wait for that pullback like I normally wait. Normally I would wait for this to bottom out, pull back, and then we've gotten in. But that had enough momentum going down. It was breaking through that. Huh?
It did pull back. That's when we got in, when it was coming back down, because it was in downward motion.
I didn't quite read that as a little bit pull, although it probably was a little bit of a pullback.
Don't forget, the indices are always different than the currencies. You can't trade them exactly the same way. Like, you know, when you see your shot, get in, take your $5 move profit, and you're good to go until the next setup. This is something I know a little bit about.
Yeah, well, you've had a lot of experience with this German maturity. That's for sure.
And that's an engulfing candle now, going up.
Yeah.
On 5 minute.
I'm still keeping above this moving average up here, though. I'm gonna get my stop up there.
Don't do this at home, kids. That's all I can say.
Remember, we're professionals. I see price coming back to the 15,580 area.
15,580. Yeah, it could be up in this upper 25% range here. Actually, we need to have this. This is where it pulled out of the. Here's where it pulled out. Here's our upper 25. We're in the middle zone right now. We test. I'm seeing if it's going to respect this moving average right here. We have a 200 moving average. It's got to get through. It's got all three of these. It's got to get through. I like to keep my stop above that. If it starts reversing on me, then I'm going to be probably pulling this trade and maybe looking to see the reversal on this. But right now, we'll see how this goes here. And it looks like Eva may be right on this one.
On this one? Come on. The only thing I worry about is that some of our attendees, they don't have a big enough account to withstand the withdrawal or the down draw or the drawdown, sorry, if it does what it's doing to you right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you go for your $5 take profit, that's your target, and get out.
Get out. Yep.
If it starts doing this, I mean, Al can sit here and withstand this because he's not worried about it. But if your account can't handle it, then you could stand to lose big bucks. And that's what Matt keeps saying. It could hand you your butt on a platter if you're not careful with it.
Well, that would have to be an awful big platter.
Get your daily bread and then
I put some weight on lately. So
I think we all have the COVID thing going on.
yeah, I'm blaming COVID. Yeah. So this is one of the, I guess this is an indice.
Yes.
Yeah, this is actually it's a cash. It's a German cash index. The German 30 cash index. I'm not exactly sure what that means. It's different than the DAX. Although I think the prices are pretty much the same thing as the DAX is.
Yeah, because I think it was Daniela, if I'm not mistaken. One of our attendees was saying that her broker calls it the DAX 30, but it's our German 30. So they're all pretty much the same that way, depending on what your broker calls it.
Okay. Yeah, I've got 4 trades made today and 1 loss.
That's not too bad.
Not bad for a daggum swing trader.
Yeah, not bad for a swing trader.
And right now, you're starting to see some consolidation of all the moving averages. We did get the cross of the green over the yellow. This is where you say you take your $5 profit, you get out, and if you come back, it pulls back in. You take another entry if you want to, if you feel like it's still going to be breaking through. So you can take a profit here, wait for it to come back, maybe get another entry coming in, and you can maybe go to the downside. Right now, it's still respecting the moving averages. It's still consolidating. We did get a little bit of the cross coming over, but now I'm going to have to be I had to take this heat, and I'm going to have to be waiting to see if it's going to come back down and retest. Now, this thing could come back down and retest and give me a higher low, and this thing could start moving to the upside.
I was going to say you're at an ascending wedge right now with a flat top.
And so I'm also looking at this possibility that this thing could come down here and form another little wedge. We have a strong move down, a flat top, perhaps a flat top wedge is basically right in this zone. And if it breaks here, then it's going to probably be going back up to retest this upper 25% area, in which case I'll get stopped out and I'll probably maybe reverse my position depending on what it looks like at the time.
I'm glad you didn't say something else. I'll get stopped down, at which I'm going to take my own life and we will move on.
I mean,
I've heard a few traders do that.
I mean, this is a nice little 50% retracement right now. It didn't even retrace to 50% before it started bouncing off. So we'll see where we're starting to get the cross back over here. But he was absolutely right. Take your $5 profit, come back. If it goes, wait for it. Then, especially if you get in where this was a pretty strong down move, came back. We got in at the cross of this orange line. Take your $5, get out, wait for the pullback, see if it comes and retest. Now, it could retest this orange line and just start bouncing back up again, or it could come back down and go for I think there's another orange line. There's another orange line down below, or is that no, this is the bottom. It could come down and retest this green zone. Don't get greedy. Just take your profit. You have large enough lot sizes and to get those small moves, take your profit and move on.
Now, how do you guys find the power? How do you know the power of the momentum? There's no momentum tool for this one.
Well, there is in a sense you can use the euro. If you use the euro and see where the euro strength is, the euro is right now, it's kind of in the middle, a little bit stronger than the euro. Generally, when the euro and the US dollar are strong, the indexes are weak. Mm-hmm. And that's about the best of a gauge you can use with that.
I go by the moving averages. I use the moving averages and the fib line, and I actually use the RSI as just as an additional odds enhancer, if you will.
Yeah, the RSI is a good tool. We have some that's one of those free tools that you can just get, and you can use that for the relative strength indexes, indicators, what that is, and that does give you a little bit of a good gauge to work with. I try not to have too many different indicators on these charts. So I'm looking mostly with the price action, but you get some of those other tools for odds enhancers. They really do help a lot.
Yeah, like on this one, when I got in was when I was certain that the MMA, the 5 and the 13 crossed. And once they crossed, I jumped in and it went exactly down to the $5. I got out and it went back up. So it works for me.
I'm going to pull this trade. I'm looking at this thing. It came back down to 5. It didn't get to close below here. Now it's starting to come back above the trend line. This thing could start. It looks like it's going to start trending to the upside. And we'll be looking at, again, we're looking at these fib lines. Now these are on the lower time frame. So I'm going to move this one down here to the 61. It seems to be, it's starting to change our direction a little bit. There's our 50. Now these are a little bit tighter because they're on our lower time frame. But I'm not going to give this thing a whole lot of room to, I'm not going to take a full stop out on this, especially when I was up.
Do you see this going higher?
I'm seeing it going higher because we had strong move down, pulled back, came back down, retested that 61% line, and now it's looking to come up and retest. I think it's going to come up and retest this. We got the crossover. We had this movement average crossed over, came back, and now it's crossed over the second time. Formed this is our wave 1, wave 2. This could be the beginning of a wave 3 on this one. Here's our 38. I'm looking now as for this one to, I said this one, these indexes don't usually take prisoners.
No, they don't. That's for sure.
Here's our lower 25. Now here's our lower 25% zone. And we're going to see where, here's our first orange, second orange, here's our third orange. Now we're looking to see this thing to head on up to break through this area. This is the area. It made a low, came back up, went back up above that 25%, pulled back, retested this lower 25 zone, and now it's starting to move its way back up again. How are we doing our time here?
Is saying, and
about 7 more minutes.
Eden's said to look, if you look at the 5 minute, it's still in a downtrend.
Yeah.
And I agree with him, which I trade the 5 minute on the German. I don't trade the 1 minute. So it does look like you could still possibly grab another 5, but I'd have to wait for the moving averages to be just right. Eden's, the green's got to be always pointing down ahead of the yellow.
And actually, when you look at this area, you could probably move this area right here and use this for our fib range. This is the new range is trading in. Come back here to the 1 minute. I can adjust this to, here's the top is still basically the same area.
Yeah, I see it wanting to go that 50 or 578 to 580 range. Yeah, I wouldn't get in it now. I wouldn't know which direction.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Not right now. Neither up nor down.
Yeah.
It's still consolidating right now. Although I didn't want to take any more heat than what I did, especially after I said, and this is one reason why I often say, take your profits and move on, because you get profitable and then it comes back and then you start investing some inventory, some emotional inventory to say, okay, how much heat do I want to take before I come back? Or do you say, cut your losses and then wait for the next trade? I don't like being profitable and then giving it all back with a loss. That does kind of drive me nuts. But here's a nice little trend. I mean, this thing could still come back down and retest this. Here's our lower 25% here. It's coming on down to this area. This is 23% there at the bottom, where the bottom is. And you can see this thing pulled back to the 68, couldn't close above the 68. Now I'll see if this thing closes. But now you're looking at where it's making lower highs and higher lows. It's really consolidating right inside this range right in here.
But you see how your the 5 and the 13 crossed now? Your 5 and
Yep.
13 have crossed.
Yep.
Again.
Yeah, this thing still has power to the downside.
Yeah.
But it also sounds some support from this level. The buyers came in. Buyers came in here, came back. They came back in here again, came back. Now the sellers are taking over. Here's an M. This thing could really still go down quite a bit lower. But this is an M. This is the M at the bottom of a move rather than at the top of a move. So it's really more like a W. Here's the long move down. Here's the beginning of W. But it didn't cross over. It crossed over and consolidated right at this moving average here. But it still has to get through this little green zone. If it can get through that green zone, then it could be looking at coming down into this next green, which is right into our lower 25% from where we drew this from before. I got one more orange line to be putting in here. This was a little bit of a head fake on the pullback. This could be our ABC. Here's our big move down. It'd be our ABC retracement off the low. And now it's coming back in to retest this low again. Yeah, this one is like, there's really no real clear direction on this one right now. So we're just going to let this one sit for a little bit. We are coming up into the 9, we are probably at the 9 o'clock hour, I think, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, 2 more minutes. Any other questions, last minute questions, comments? I can't stay too much longer. We're going to be hitting the road today to head back home today. So,
Well, now I'm not going to see you guys, I guess, until when? Tuesday?
that's right. That's right. We're giving Eva tomorrow and Friday and Monday off. So, Brian, what do you think we should do about the banking holiday on Monday? I'll take a holiday.
I think we should rob it.
Yeah.
Nobody will be there. They won't even know who we are.
Yeah. So we'll be here tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday, and Friday we'll be here tomorrow into Friday. Monday we're going to take the day off on Monday. It's banking holidays. Usually when the bankers take the holiday, we should take the holiday. Enjoy it with your families. And if you're from a different country, enjoy it with your families anyway.
Yeah. Or come visit ours. One of the two.
That's it, yeah.
So let's see. Well, we had a couple of good trades today. Some of us took profits on this last one. Some of us didn't.
Wonder who that might be.
Yeah. So the key to this whole thing is don't get greedy. Lock in your profits and go to the next trade.
Yeah. Edens was saying that he's in a couple of cells there with the German, and he's in the blue. Just this word to the wise. Just make sure
yep.
your
And bottom
profit.
line is, I was profitable here. And this, I do think this thing's going to go lower. I do think it's going to go lower, but I can think what I want. It's going to do what it wants to do. But here's a strong move up, retraced, and it broke through this area right in here. So this is the area where you can see where it kind of retested here, went through the whole zone. Right now it's breaking through the bottom, and down here is where the bottom of this move is going to be. I'm still going to take it. I still think
it went blasted right through the green.
I'm going to take this thing. This thing's going down. Coming into our 20% zone. We'll see what happens here. And with that, we are at coming up on. I'm not sure if anybody's coming in on the 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock session. but we will leave the room open for them in case they do. And with that, we're going to sign off. Any last minute questions or comments before we go?
Al, can you meet in the 888 before you leave?
Yep, I will.
Okay.
And so we'll see everybody tomorrow, same time, 7:30 to 9. See you then.
Sounds good.
See you guys. Well, no, you'll see me Tuesday.
And say, drive safe, Viva. Enjoy your time with your family.
Thank you. You guys have a great holiday, great Independence Day. Is that what you're still calling it nowadays? Or?
Well, we don't know anymore.
Well, we're not sure what we're allowed to call it anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. July 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's gonna. They'll find some other new name for it. So anyway, take care, everyone, and we will see you soon.
Yeah. See y'all. Have a great weekend.